Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hi, everyone, and welcome down under to the Blue Hell, the Mount Panorama circuit in Bathurst, Australia. For 12 hours this past weekend, the real-life GT3 cars endured the 570-foot elevation change in tight confines, where the margin of victory was just a scant 9/10 of a second. But tonight, it's our GT4 and TCR drivers' turn for a bit more manageable 75 minutes and round number 3 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series, presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics here on Apex Racing TV. I'm Greg Ginsburg, and joining me in the announce booth, as always, is Larry Lefty McLeod. And of course, let's not forget the two Johns, Jonathan Grabowski and John Robertson, who are going to be giving you all the best views of tonight's action. So yesterday, the Sun Energy Racing Team scored its second 12-hour win in as many years, and Jules Gounod clinched his third behind the wheel of a Mercedes AMG. So Larry, what's it going to take to knock the BMWs of Orion Racing off the top of the GT4 podium and the Hondas at D2D in TCR?
That's a tall order in both classes. Good evening, Craig.
Good evening,
yes,
sir.
That's a very tall order in both classes because this place requires excellence, so we know that those teams in general bring a lot of excellence to the table. So it's going to take a pretty heroic drive. And maybe a little bit of luck, of some walls creeping in and around, because the walls around the Dipper are awfully scary, as well as around the whole cutting and up the mountain and back down. So this is going to be a little bit of luck could be on your side, but you got to be accurate, you got to be precise. You have to bring your A game for this place. Yeah,
indeed, Larry. It is a track with so many competing sections. We've got the very tight area that you get through McPhillamy, and you start to head down through Skyline, and you've got those walls on either side of you as you go down through the Dipper and finally get to the elbow. You, of course, going up the hill through the cutting and up towards the highest part of the track at Solman Park. But then you've got what is, I believe, with the exception of perhaps Le Mans, the longest straightaway that you're going to find 1.19 miles down the Conrad Strait as you travel north into that high-speed chicane, the Chase, before you wrap up a lap here. It's definitely a challenge that I think that even a single class of racers would have a problem with, Larry. But when we've got both our GT4 and TCR cars out on track all battling for position, I think it's going to be doubly tough.
And then we get the joy of at the end of the race, everyone's going to come down the Conrad Strait and go straight up and over the jump and try to land it in the finish straight there before Murray's Corner, and that's always a good time. We'll see if anybody tries it during the race, shall we?
Yes. Are we taking bets on who it might be?
I got a few names.
So do I. All right, well, Larry, let's do this. Why don't we turn things over to Kevin Ford? He's going to give us tonight's track guide of the Mount Panorama circuit down in Bathurst, and then we're going to get to an extended qualifying session. So take it away, Kevin.
Welcome, everyone, to the Mount Panorama Circuit located here in Bathurst, Australia. Great to have you with us as we provide you your track guide today around this, well, just shy of 4-mile road course. It is an unbelievable trek around this place as we'll head up to the mountain here in just a moment. Let's go ahead and get things rolling as we head up the front straightaway here. Our pit entry is over to the left there as you're heading down into the final corner. Our grandstands to the right. We'll cross the start-finish line here and head up into turn 1. This is known as Hell's Corner. Want to get a good launch out of this one because this takes you up on the mountain straight, a very long shot up to turn 2 here. Obviously, slipstream opportunity here is big, and certainly at the start of a race, drivers will be battling for those positions, trying to get up to the front of the field here, coming up into what's known as Griffin's Bend, turn 2 here at Bathurst. Come out of Griffin's Bend, we'll track out here to the left. We'll head up towards turns 3 and 4. These are double left-handers here, coming into what's known as the cutting. Right down to the wall there. Come right up off the exit. Be careful, there's a little rise right there in the track. You certainly don't want to shift over that rise. Coming up into Frog Hollow now. Down through this dip, we're going to lift just a little, let that car rotate to the bottom. Stay back in throttle here, up over the rise into this blind entry of turn 10. This will bring us up towards turn 11 and up over Skyline here. The beautiful scenery at the top of the hill. Now down into the dipper. Back to the right, drop into the left, back to the right once again. Very tight section through here. Want to hit these as straight as you can through these S-curves. Now down into Forest Elbow. We'll get a good run up out of Forest Elbow as this brings us now back down the mountain. And this will take us towards the Chase. And of course, as you can see, high speed straightaway here. Another big opportunity for slipstream for these drivers to overtake their competitors as they head down towards the Chase. We'll head to the right here. Then heavy on the brakes as we come into the dip. Right back to the left. Out of turn 21. Now out of turn 22 to the right. This will take us to the final little short straight down the hill. Into the final corner, Murray's Corner here at Bathurst. Good run up by the final corner. This will take us to the start-finish line. There you go. There's your track guide for the amazing Mount Panorama. Thank you for being with us.
All right, thank you so much to Kevin Ford for tonight's track guide of the Mount Panorama circuit here in Bathurst. And we have cars on track. You're watching Chad Osborne right now in the number 24 BMW taking his first shot. Actually going out on his outlap right now, as I believe all of our drivers are. We are going to be giving our drivers a little bit longer tonight in qualifying in order to set their fast laps. Instead of 15 minutes to set 4 flying laps and set the time for tonight's grid, we're going to give them 20 minutes. And that's because the laps here at Mount Panorama a little bit longer than some of the other circuits that we race at during the season. The GT4 drivers during the multiple practice sessions this week were putting in times at best in the low 2-minute 16 range, and with the TCR cars in the 2-minute 20-second range. So I want to make sure they have a little bit of extra time. And as we always do here in the Ricmotech Sports Car Series, we have what is called sole qualifying, where the drivers have the track all to themselves. They don't have to worry about traffic, which could be very detrimental to setting a fast lap here in qualifying, Larry. If they all were out on track at once, as we see Mike Dam, very odd for him. Mike Dam from Orion Racing, currently running, I think, second in the championship here, going around. Actually, Dam currently running third in the championship, partly his two teammates, Travis Schwenke and Robert Hartley, running 1-2 currently. But we're going to give the drivers 4 flying laps in order to set their fastest lap and to set the grid for tonight's race. We'll have all of our GT4 drivers, whether they be in our AM category, as is John Casey right now in the 046 racing machine, or our pro drivers. And this is about as good a time as any to tell you how we pick them out. Our GT4 AM category drivers, much like John Casey here, they're going to have green mirrors, green windshield banners, green number boards, and green end plates on their rear wings, whereas our GT4 Pro drivers, as we jump over to Brandon, well, there is John Allen. There we go in the Seamless Racing number 101 machine, the Aston Martin. You can see there red mirrors, red windshield banner, red number boards on the doors, and the red end plates on the wing on the trunk. And then, of course, we've got our TCR cars. The four-door front-wheel drive machines, they look a little bit different than our GT cars, but we can jump over here to Marlon Jones in the, I believe, the Lead Paw Racing Hyundai Elantra. And we can see there blue number boards, blue mirrors, blue windshield banners, and blue end plates. Endpoints. I'm talking about the day job all of a sudden. On the rear wing. Can I interest you in some endpoint security software? Anyway, there we go. As most of our drivers now getting ready to start their first flying laps here. Actually, some of them getting ready to complete their first flying laps. And first one to do so, Brennan Horan in the D2D eRacing Mercedes AMG GT4s. He's coming out of Hell Corner, which is turn number 1, having just completed his first flying lap. He puts in a 2:15.58. Currently the AM category driver. He is sitting at the top of the leaderboard. Chris Thorman with a 2:16.2, also from D2D Racing, except Chris there running in one of the Aston Martin Vantages with that 2:16.22. He is currently your fastest of the pro category drivers, just happens to be second fastest on track currently. David Payton, also from D2D there in the number 64 machine, also in one of the Aston Martins, currently third fastest overall, second in pro. And in TCR, a couple drivers now have put in flying laps, 2 of them to be specific. Brandon Whitworth, who is looking for win number 3 here in this very young season in TCR. He's currently leading the field in the D2D Racing Honda Civic Type R. And then we've got Scott Brooks. And by the way, we're going to have to maybe change that up a little bit, is Alex Brown in the number 67 Team Collusion Honda Civic Type R, just now goes to the top of the leaderboard with a 2:21.46, so almost a full half second faster than Brandon Whitworth at this point.
And we'll keep an eye, of course, for Eric Violet, who's been a couple of round winner here. See if he can get his first lap in and put himself up near that front. But these guys are moving pretty good clip around here. As there he is, Eric.
There we go. And I think I said Whitworth was our 2-time winner. Actually, it's Eric Violet, his teammate, who's just rolling out of the pits and getting back starting his out lap.
A little extra few minutes here for qualifying, you know. They always like to wait a little bit, get the optimal conditions here in this qualifying session. But as we've seen a lot of times, it doesn't matter how you qualify in some of these races, especially with the straightaways that we've got here at Bathurst. It's just so many opportunities to pass, at least on the way out and the way back from the mountain. Once you're up there, boy, good luck trying to find a place around.
Yeah, it's
go across Skyline. Not so sure that's the best place to make a move.
You know, and it's funny, Larry, because last week for the World Challenge, We were just watching at the Hungaro, was it the Hungaro ring that we were at, where drivers were just going off track pretty much everywhere with it looked like 40-something incident points for any of them. Here, you're not going to find many of them going off track. In most cases, and in most places, they're going to be finding a wall rather than running wide through corners. I think the only two places really three places to do that would be the final corner, as we're watching Robert Hartley right now coming out of Murray's corner, the final corner, and then coming down the very short front straight through hell corner, turn 1. Those are the two places where you could run wide, and although there's a wall pretty close to the outside there, the outside of
there's
hell
walls
corner
everywhere.
there.
If you want to look, you can find them. Trust me, I've driven my share of laps around here. I have found every wall,
every single
around
wall.
Mount Panorama. But I can tell you, this place also, for me, I put a few laps in. Certainly no pro around here by any means. But this is one of the tracks when I run public races, I will start from the pits because I don't want any part of the first time between the walls going up the mountain. It's just, it's typically a race of survival, and I worry tonight with the type of race we've got that survival could be key. But these guys, at least, they've put in more practice. This is not a public series by any means. Right. These guys put in their time. They know these cars. They're in these cars every single week, and they do all their practice sessions before we get here on our Monday evenings. But still, there is going to be those, moments, those gotcha moments where cars at a wall block the track and things get a little bit crazy. So hope for the best, but this place is just so daunting. I watching the real life race last weekend, I just cannot get over how they do these things in dark conditions, and it's just insane to me. But at least here in the sim, it's daylight, and if you hit a wall, at least you can get up from your sim and go have a cup of coffee. But
yeah, exactly.
It's gonna be a scary thing.
And watch the broadcast, or if you're Bobby Childs, jump into the commentary booth.
Currently second in the AM qualifying right now.
That's well. For now, we'll see if he can move up. So let's do this, Larry. We've got a little bit of time here, but let's take a look back at 2 weeks ago, where 2 weeks ago the Sportscar series was at Daytona, and this for this weekend we're following the GT3 cars in the 12-hour Bathurst. 2 weeks ago, we followed the big boys for the Rolex at Daytona, and we'll start off with TCR, where Eric Violet took the win for D2D eRacing in his Honda Civic Type R. Brandon Whitworth finished second, and Team Collusion's Alex Brown was your third fastest driver. He took the last step on the podium with Nick Horvath, who we should have hopefully in the commentary booth here pre-race. Hopefully we'll have Nick Horvath in, and then John Sterling came in fifth. And so if you take a look at the point standings now, and this is after 2 rounds in TCR, we've got Eric Violet and Brandon Whitworth. They are currently your championship leaders. Violet with 78 points, Brandon Whitworth 9 points back from there. Then Alex Brown another 4 points back from there with 65. Then Horvath, then David Payne in DP Racing Honda Civic Type R. He currently has 54 points and sits in 5th position. If we take a look now over and we move to GT4 AM, Brennan Horn took his second win of this very young season in that D2D eRacing Mercedes, and Horn running the Mercedes as opposed to the Astons that most of his other teammates are running right now. Certainly showing to be a great platform choice here, as he is currently your provisional pole sitter in GT4 AM. On his last flying lap, currently looking to improve upon a 2:15.58. Let's take a look and see how he does on this final lap, and then we'll jump back and run down that order from Daytona as he comes across the line, puts in a 2:15.47, eclipsing his previous best. That puts him, Larry, it looks to be quite a bit ahead of the next driver, Bobby Childs, who has a 2:16.07 in the books, so about a half a second. A little bit over, actually about 0.6 of a second, separating those two drivers. All right, so let's take a look now. We said Brennan Horn took the win. Eduardo Laurent from Courage Motorsports came home in second, and GT Hawkins from Team Collusion took the final step of the podium, with Stephen May and Chad Osborne finishing 4th and 5th at Daytona. And if we look at the point standings now after 2 rounds, in GT4 AM. It is Brennan Horan with 56 points. Brad Husty making the move from TCR to GT4 this season, currently sitting second in his midfield motorsports Aston Martin with 42 points, just a single point ahead of Chad Osborne's BMW M4 for Redline Motorsports. And then we've got John Casey, and I said earlier John Casey was running for 046 Racing, that's his old team, was picked up by Frito Sport Racing before round number 2, and that is who that Aston Martin belongs to. And then Russ Ruddick from Flying Tortoise Motorsports, currently 5th in this young championship. And so if we take a look now over at GT4 Pro, Travis Schwenke taking the win with his Orion Racing teammate Mike Dam finishing second, Robert Hartley coming in third, and we're on board with both of those Orion Racing teammates. Dam currently your provisional pole sitter, Schwenke currently running second, and about 35 hundredths of a second separating those two drivers currently, as we watch Mike Dam here come down the Conrad Straight, and we'll see if he can improve on what will be his final flying lap. Travis Schwenke with all 4 laps in the books, he's not going to be able to improve on that 2:14.91. Best he will be and do is second in qualifying here, but it was Schwenke, then Dam, then Hartley at Daytona, with Chris Thorman for D2DE Racing finishing in 4th, and the Defined Auto Works 101 machine of John Allen finishing in 5th. And so if we take a look at the championship standings right now, Travis Schwenke and Robert Hartley, they are tied for the championship currently with 70 points. The two teammates from Orion, Mike Dam, only 2 points back from there with 68. And then we've got Jeff Jacobs in the SCCA Foundation Mercedes, currently 4th in the championship, and then only 2 points back from Jeff Steve Daniel in the SKKJ Racing BMW M4. So very, very close, obviously up at the top of the championship here in Pro after 2 rounds, and pretty darn tight once you get past those top 3 as well.
Yeah, it's been a couple of good races so far between those teammates on Orion. Looking to see if maybe some of the D2D guys can get up there and start to challenge them. We saw them challenge a little bit at the Atlanta race, but not able to finish it off. Let's see if we can get some challenges up there to see if guys like Peyton maybe can get in there, try to separate some of the Orion guys and make an effort. We know already, at least Brennan Horan, coming in from the M category, has been putting up a pretty good fight as well. We'll see if he steps in between and see if he can make a run. Right now qualified 6th overall, leading that AM category. You're mentioning how Bobby Childs at that time was about 6/10 back. Bobby's cut that gap now to just about 4/10, which puts Bobby right now on the grid right behind Brennan Horan. So that'll be interesting way there for the M challengers to start off this race, intermix there between the pro category guys. But a lot of little subtle themes here going on in tonight's race. It should be a good time to watch and see what kind of action we end up getting here, because this place generates action by itself, and it's going to take a pretty good effort to take them away.
Indeed. And so, Larry, almost all of our drivers have completed their 4th and final flying laps. Brennan Horan on, taking as much practice as he can. He's already now completed 5 full laps. The one driver that has not, however, is Eric Violet, currently 3rd fastest in TCR, and he is starting his final flying lap right now. He's got a 2:20.88 on the books. That is 0.04 of a second off of Alex Brown, who is 2nd fastest in class, and then Brendan Whitworth is your provisional pole sitter here in TCR.
Yeah, just watch him as we're on board here with Eric as he's heading up the hill. And you just watch him how he uses all of the pavement up against the walls. But this corner, you got to get it to rotate. You got to get on that gas early, because you can see how steep this hill just starts to climb up and up and up. And you're all the way out to the left, use the wall. All the way to the inside, use a little bit of the curb next to the wall, curb next to the wall. And just use the momentum now as you're just going up and around, still climbing, a little bit of a dip there. Just amazing to watch the control. Now the car gets light around that kink as well as this kink here. Just a little bit of a breathe of the throttle there. And now we get to the top and start to plummet down across the skyline. And you can hear the downshift. a little late. Managed to catch it. That might have cost him a little bit. And just pulling it up the hill. This, to me, in a front drive car, is so hard to find a braking point and get this thing turning.
Yeah. Yeah, and Larry, you know, to try and counteract any kind of front end push with these cars as you come down the hill and you are looking for those braking zones, it is such a fine line.
Well, you get two things. Sometimes you get a bit of push, and sometimes though you get on the brakes, the back end gets light because you're braking on that downhill. It's kind of one way or the other. You never get a good balance there. You even saw Eric's hands kind of do a little bit of a double take there. He did turn his personal best sector in sector 3, but he's doing good here. We'll see if he can get through this last little kink before the last run down to the final corner.
And you can see he's using every last inch of the pavement there to try and open up the front wheels and get as little bit of drag as he can as he comes onto the front straight. And our final driver to complete qualifying, Eric Violette, he does improve. He puts down a 220.46. That will move him to the front row in TCR alongside his teammate Brandon Whitworth, and that is going to demote Alex Brown back to third in TCR.
Yeah, and that's you watch that lap, and he got lots of little mistakes, and that might be the gap between he and teammate Whitworth. Whitworth laying down the 0.2, Eric only able to get to the 0.4, but it does lock out the front row for the D2D boys there and set up a pretty good battle. But you know, looks like at least that Alex may have some pace to stick with these guys, as well as Nick Horvath, who was supposed to be our pre-race interview.
He was.
But maybe he's focusing on. But these guys might be able to make a challenge for the D2D boys. And that'll be a good time to watch and see how this goes.
Yeah. So just about time just about to expire here in qualifying, about 30 seconds. But all of our drivers have completed their 4 flying laps, allowed with one exception actually. Lino Carreras, driver of the number 7 Pilot Racing Honda Civic Type R, did not set a time in qualifying. Larry, he might be doing what you were talking about.
He might, but I don't see a time for him in practice either. So he might
so it
join the
doesn't look
session
like...
and then realize that something else in life called, and that happens sometimes.
Yeah, so unfortunately, probably not going to have Carreras, pardon me, as we get ready and our drivers start to grid up here, and your pole sitter tonight. And what we do is we mix the Pro and AM GT4 drivers together, and then we'll have a separate start for our TCR drivers in front. Your front row tonight from Orion Racing is going to be Mike Dam with a 2:14.526 as the pole time, and 38 hundredths of a second off of that. Travis Schwenke will start next to him on row number 1. Robert Hartley will start third tonight with John Allen starting in 4th, and Chris Thorman from D2D, he'll start 5th tonight in the number 60 machine. Brennan Horn, our GT4 AM category driver, pole sitter, will start in 6th. Then David Payton will start 7th. As you said, pardon me, Larry, Bobby Childs, 2nd fastest driver in qualifying in the AM category. He's going to start right behind Brennan Horn. Jeff Jacobs will start 9th tonight, and Steve Daniel will make up the outside of row number 5. Then we've got Chad Osborne, who is starting 11th tonight, and 3rd in GT4 AM. Chuck Labano will start on the outside of row number 6. And then we've got Brad Husty in the number 137 machine from Midfield Motorsports, making a great move from TCR the past couple of seasons and showing himself quite well here in the GT4 machinery. Russ Ruddick will start 14th tonight, with Tom Jenkins starting on the inside of row number 8, and John Casey starting right next to him in 16th. And then we've got Andrew Packer and Stephen May, and then finally Dale Maxwell making up your GT4 field.
All right, in the TCR category, we talked about it. He's on the pole. Brandon Whitworth from D2D Racing lined up alongside of him will be his teammate Eric Violette, just a couple of tenths back on qualifying times. On the second row, it's going to be Alex Brown on the inside, and he'll be lined up with Nick Horvath on the outside. On the next row, the third row of TCR, so we should have Marlon Jones, and I believe there he is. Marlon Jones lined up there. Should be lined up with Scott Brooks And Lino Carreras, as we said, I'm not so sure he's going to make it here tonight. If he does, he'll be doing it without a qualifying time.
Well, I am showing Lino as being in the session and on the pit lane, Larry. So, but he isn't in the car yet. So, who knows? As we've got the pace car bringing the field around for the shorter pace lap here this evening, and the pace car now pops into the pit lane and over the double yellow lines. Who does that nowadays? But our pole sitter, Mike Dam, has the field. Travis Schwenke to his right in row number 1. And then we've got Robert Hartley and John Allen as they come through the final corner onto the front straight, waiting for our starter to give the green flag. And with a late green, there it is. Green flag now in the air. We have a real live starter giving the green. So a little bit off from what iRacing was giving as our drivers held station. A late green there as the two Orion Racing teammates come through Hell Corner for the very first time and up the mountain straight, and still side by side, door to door for most of our drivers there. But our top 4 drivers now getting in line as we now watch our second start as the TCR cars now come on the front straight, and it is green flag. Time to go racing in TCR as we've now got Brandon Whitworth jumping to an early lead from the inside, and right behind him, Eric Violette in his D2D e-racing machine, with Nick Horvath getting the jump on Alex Brown as they now make the way down the mountain straight towards Griffin's Bend and up the hill as we jump over to our GT4 racers.
Yeah, looking at the start of the race there, I'm kind of wondering what the stewards would think about it, but Travis Schwenke was kind of nose ahead of Mike Dam as they came down the front straight and took the green flag. He did back off, he has slipped in line with Dam, but typically that's a bit of a no-no, so we'll see if anything is said about that. But right now it seems like it's kind of nose to tail as we run up and down the mountain for the first time this year. You see them now coming down through Skyline into the dip here for the first time, and this is always just treacherous. You do it in traffic and half of it's blind. We'll see if the field's able to make it through. About 19 cars here in the GT4's total between the pros, and there's one that's one of our D2Ds. That's 64 of David Pate sideways there across the track.
And if anything, he's in a good place for the moment for all of our GT4 cars to avoid, but he's got to get underway pretty quickly here.
DCR's in his way. He is missing some a front fascia, so there is some damage to that car.
Yeah, and you can see the front fascia was about 80 yards down the track. Driver is right.
And I think he's missing most of a left front tire as well, which is making it hard to make that right bend. I have a feeling he'll be on the tool here shortly as we take a look now at the field coming up at the end of the straightaway for the first time.
Yeah, and here they come into the chicane, the chase, as the field's starting to stretch out a little bit in GT4. You can see already taking a little bit of a defensive line is Chad Osborne in the number 24 machine, currently running third in AM, and he's got Chuck Labano right behind him in the Mercedes. Real close running there. Just ahead of him is Steve Daniel, currently running 7th in pro as they come out and start to make their way through turn number 1 through Hell Corner and start to head back up the hill. So after one lap, it's Mike Dam, Travis Schwenke, Robert Hartley, your top 3 in pro. Then Brennan Horn, Bobby Childs, and Chad Osborne, your top 3 in AM. And in TCR, Brandon Whitworth in the number 42 machine, continuing to hold off his teammate Eric Violet, but they've opened up now about a 10 car length advantage over Nick Horvath in the number 82 Honda Civic, but all Civics in the top 4. Your first Hyundai, currently running 5th.
We just saw a brief replay of the David Payton hitting contact with the wall, just coming down through the dip the first time, when the car just got nose-to-nose on its way in. Luckily, the rest of the field was able to get on by. But now we've got our eyes over here on Bobby Childs in that 88 in that Mercedes, leading a little bit of a group here, but there's a gap. Brennan Horn, the leader of the class, has kind of pulled out now just a little bit, so Bobby's struggling down to just he's right there. The two of them, the two Mercedes, are nose to tail, but the gap, I guess, is in front of them.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a pretty good gap, about 2 seconds up to Chris Thorman running in 5th. And you know, and Larry, I think if Childs can keep somewhat close here to the back of his teammate Horn, when they finally get out of Forest Elbow and come onto the Conrad Straight here, should give him the ability to maybe draft up a little bit.
Yep. This is one of those places where you finally get the speeds high enough where a GT4 in the draft is effective. And so he'll have to make sure he gets on the binders a bit early there as we come through the chase here. You can see right there how late he can get on the brakes, but you can't be too late because that thing is so deceptive the way it kind of rises and falls. But they're already now, those GT4s are catching the back of the TCR field. So traffic already here as we start lap 4.
Yeah, and that black Honda Civic Type R, that is Lino Carreras. And Larry, indeed, he did start from the pit lane.
Smart man.
And he is already now got our GT4 leaders coming up on him. He pulls all the way over driver's left to let that pack by, and I think he's going to be doing a lot of driving offline for the next lap or so.
Considering it didn't look like he got a lot of practice time in tonight, and obviously set a qualifying time, he probably realized his best move to be the least amount of damage to the race was just to let the field have a chance and start from the pits and see if he can learn the track.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, if he can latch onto the back of the GT4 traffic for at least a little while to help him learn the track a little bit, and won't put him in the middle of either race.
Yeah, so right now he's probably trying to, and you can see most of them got by at least. There's the John Allen, the fourth of the four, chasing those Ryans in front of him, and then Thorman back there. But I think for Lino, I think he's able to find himself a little bit of a gap to run his own race here. There is the 60 of Thorman, just a couple seconds back of that front four.
Yeah, and so Larry, you know, 2 weeks ago when we were at Daytona, really close race going into the pit stop sequence with the Orion Racing teammates, also John Allen, and I think it all, you know, came to a head post pit stop for John Allen, as he just didn't have a very well handling car at the end, and a great finish for Travis Schwenke on the taking advantage of the draft at Daytona to finish up the race there. We'll see if Allen can hold close. We don't expect these drivers in GT4 to take tires when they come in for their what is going to be a required pit stop. They're just not going to be able to make it to the end on fuel.
So we've got a shot here now of Bobby Childs, now a little further back from Glenn Warren. In fact, Bobby's got Jeff Jacobs and Steve Daniel between them. So we're going to see what happened to Bobby, but he's definitely locked some track position. They're no longer right there behind Brennan, and now got a couple of the pro drivers in between he and Brennan. So he's got some quick ones at least. Maybe he can latch onto them, but he certainly wants to get his way back up there with Brennan leading the way in the AM class. If he wants to have a shot of maybe fighting off the battle behind him, because he does have a couple guys behind him really close by there. Chad Osborne and Chuck Romano not too far behind him. So good little battle for second and eighth.
Yeah, and as we just see there around the couple car lengths back from Childs right now, Osborne and Labano. Last time by, if we take a look, running very similar lap times, within at least Osborne within a couple hundredths of a second, but Labano made up about half a second that last time by. But again, very early days in this 75-minute race from Bathurst as we jump back over to our TCR fight here. And Brandon Whitworth we didn't expect Whitworth to be able to necessarily open up a huge gap over his teammate Violet here early on. They were both in practice running very similar lap times, and you notice there Nick Horvath, you know, Larry, maybe he had a good reason for not coming to talk to us. He was getting himself all hyped up. He's definitely
Horvath
in the mix.
there, and Brown is there as well. Horvath, the big mover here early in this race, but both he and Alex Brown are sticking close to Whitworth and Violet. So we may have a bit of a battle on our hands here in TCR. It's still early, but they're certainly showing some speed to be able to stick with the traditional powerhouses that we normally have. So it's great to see a little bit of practice is paying off for these guys and bringing the challenge.
All right, let's take a look, Larry. I think as we saw dropping back through the order, and he's now sitting on the pit lane. Andrew Packer had some issues, and let's take a look and see exactly what happened as he's coming through the final corner.
Yeah, that's right there, Murray's corner, and he's introducing himself to Murray right now. And unfortunately, Murray's got a bit of a hard head these days. He doesn't treat people too well.
No, he does not.
Andrew now in the pits.
I say a little red-headed or hot-headed there.
Yes. Oh, speaking of a little bit of a hot head, there goes Bobby making the move to get back around Steve Daniel as they come through the chase. So great move late on the brakes. The BMW's got some stopping power tonight.
Yeah, indeed. So that moves Bobby Childs now up into 8th position, which is where he started. But he has definitely lost a little bit of ground to Brennan Horan, 2 cars up, sitting just ahead of Jeff Jacobs in the SCCA Foundation Mercedes here as they start here lap number 5.
Well, Bobby would love to get around one more, this time the Mercedes instead of the BMW that he just passed. Would love to get around Jeff Jacobs and keep up with Brennan up there. But Brennan laying down a pretty good pace early on. But Bobby, whatever that mistake was, he seems to have shaken it off and got his pace back on. His last lap at 2:16.8. Brennan's last at 2:17.5. So yeah, Bobby's definitely picked up the pace. And again, so is Jeff Jacobs, who did a 16.3. So Jeff showing his form here early on.
See a little that battle for third, right back behind them there with Osborne and Labano at one point there, almost side by side, coming out of the cutting and going up the hill. Certainly not the quickest way, but certainly not the safest way either. You know, you typically don't expect to see passes attempts up in that section of the course.
Well, here's Horvath again, sticking with Eric Violette and Brandon Whitworth. So a good little battle here, but I did notice as we had the camera on Bobby Childs a moment ago, there was a bit of a wrinkle in the right rear of Bobby's car, so wondering perhaps he caught a bit of the wall, maybe at the dip, maybe somewhere else, lots of walls to catch. Might have caused his bit of slowdown, but doesn't seem to be bothering him now as he's walking away. But these guys, I love seeing this. I love seeing this foursome now. So we're used to the last few rounds in the last season or so and seeing just these two teammates of T2D battling it out, but I do love it. Are we allowed to root for anybody? Can I root for somebody else to win this? I know Eric would be laughing his head off if he heard that, but yeah, I'd love to see this battle. I'd like to see an extra challenger come into play, and Horvath and Brown seem to be those challengers tonight.
So I was talking to Eric before the race, and he actually mentioned one of the drivers to watch for tonight, Larry, in TCR, Sean Walker, driver of the 133, the Angry Panda Racing machine. I've got a good friend, Chris Childs, from Angry Sheep Motorsports. Now we've got the Angry Panda here tonight, and Eric was saying that Sean was very, very much on pace during the final practices this week. So it's unfortunate to see him sitting quite a bit further back in that Hyundai Elantra, but certainly good things to come for the 133 machine.
Yeah, well, he's got a pretty good clip going now, so not sure if he had a bit of an issue there that set him back a bunch, but he's got it going now, got a decent couple of laps going, been in the 22s. And I love the car.
Yeah, I was going to say you might be a little biased. Hey, let's take a look, Larry. I think we had, I believe this might have been Lino Carrera. Let's take a look at the replay here. Lino Carrera's and a little curb and a lot of wall.
That's a fast race to lose that bit of control as he's coming across the top of the hill. Unfortunately, that looked like it was going to put him into the pits.
Yeah, and Lino started off the race from the pits, and that may be where he finishes the race. That is where he is right now.
Well, if that were a real-life accident, it's a great place to watch from, so he can sort of pull off to the side, hop the wall, sit up just over there on the right. You get a great view of the terrain below.
Certainly better than the LA Coliseum, right?
These walls are about the same.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the corners are definitely as tight. You've got the same sight behind the wheel. You got the same sight lines through some of the corners here.
Just a few 100,000 less spectators.
Yeah, well, there weren't that many there last. There weren't that many there last night. And to this moment, and this may be calling out the announcer's curse, we haven't had any full course cautions yet either. But we're on board right now. Again, this is the fight for a third in AM. 10th overall, Chad Osborne, Chuck Labano, and just a little bit in arrears of Steve Daniel there. Daniel running in the pro category in that SKKJ Racing, the bronze and light blue BMW 4.
Yeah, last season's AM winner, so he's been bumped up to the pro ranks, but he's right there amongst this pack. And I tell you what, those guys in Osborne, Labano, and Husty, you can see him in his Aston Martin just back there as well. Those guys would love to get around Steve and try to make a chase towards Bobby Childs. Hope for Bobby to do something to bring him back to them. we'll let them all decide out there. But right now, Steve, so mixing it up. Steve, kind of the interplay of multiple classes, but these guys are thinking, come on, Steve, let's go catch these guys. You were last season's champ. Let's put that speed down and see what happens. But there's a good shot of Brad Husty. And I think one of the drivers that jumped from the TCRs over to the GT4s here this season. And still coming to grips with it, but seems to be picking up his pace each race.
And Larry, I'm just, as we're talking about team names, and of course, you know, we've got Angry Animals, I'm also quite happy that we're not going to have any kind of fights, or nothing's going to come to blows. Jeremy Gorger not racing tonight in his TCR machine, representing Flying Squirrel Racing, just because I think that could create multiple issues for our drivers from Flying Tortoise Motorsports,
the Squirrels and Tortoises, just, you know, it's a legendary rivalry. They just don't get along. So
no, not at all.
The fight for Australian territory.
Yes. Now all we need is a flying kangaroo, and I think our night would be complete.
All of a sudden, the wombats come in. So we've got Bobby now closing up just a little bit to Jeff Jacobs there. Again, he's putting down some pretty good laps, trying to catch Brennan. But he's making his way. You can see Bobby starting to pull a little bit away from Steve Daniel and the pack behind them. So maybe just enough to sniff a little bit of draft as they come down the Conrad straight into the chase. Bobby, we know, is late on the brakes through here. We saw him make that pass already on Steve Daniel by using the late braking in his Mercedes. Here he's going to use it to try and keep up with a couple of Mercedes in front of him, with both Jeff Jacobs and Brennan, both in very similar Mercedes to the one Bobby's piloting.
And all the while, our three Orion Racing entries, Mike Dam, Travis Schwenke, and Robert Hartley, continue to open up an advantage on the rest of the field. John Allen now about 3.5 seconds back from the top three. So the Aston Martin not able to keep the pace at the moment of the three BMWs up at the front. And now look at this move here is Chris Thorman making a move coming out of Griffin's Bend on John Allen. Got very loose trying to sneak that car underneath the 101, but takes the position to move Chris Thorman now up into fourth, and looks like he's got some good pace there.
I was wondering if maybe John Allen had taken some damage, but I don't see anything, nothing obvious at least. But perhaps he could, because his pace suddenly dropped by 2 seconds a lap. So I wonder if maybe he had done something to that, just caught a wall somewhere with that all black livery. It's tough to
I was going to say, it's all black, it's slimming, it's flattering. You may not pick up any kind of
it hides the imperfections.
Yes, it does.
But yeah, so right now he's falling off the pace, leaving the 309 cars off to do their thing on the front, and Chris Thorman now to go try and chase them down. As this pack now coming down Skyline, now intermixing a couple of GT4s with the TCRs here.
And I think that might be Lino Carrera's back out on track.
It is.
Just ahead of them, which may serve to compress this part of the field back up.
I think Andrew Packer might be there as well. Maybe some delta of time down these guys after his incident earlier. Oh, look at this. Jeff Jacobs using the draft.
Yeah, there. Look at this.
That's Packer on the inside of this.
On the inside in the BMW, and we've got Brennan Horn, Jeff Jacobs, and Bobby Childs, who's now closed right back up. Wow, as they come into the chase. Wow.
All they all tight to there, I'd say, is all of them didn't know how to quite get around Andrew Packer. It looked like he was doing a good job to stay out of their way, but it started with Brennan, who didn't quite know which way to go. You had Jeff Jacobs, who was thinking maybe he had to move up the inside, then the outside, and he got a little bit late, and then Bobby came roaring down and in. Now Bobby's all over the back of the SDK Foundation. You can see it. The Foundation's got a Mercedes logo, I think, in the middle of it now. It's Bobby's right all over the back of Jacobs. And they're nose to tail, three of them.
Yeah, and you know, Larry, as they were coming down the fastest part of the track there, and had Packer drivers left, you know, I think you saw there is Childs and maybe
here's the
Jacobs
move,
were just looking for a way to kind of sneak through.
Yeah, well, now Bobby's the aggressor. He shows a bit of a fake move as they turn into Griffin's Bend, and then he gets to finish the move before they even get to the cutting. So now Bobby has got the spot. Dangerous place to pass anywhere up through here to try and get a repass for Jacob. So now Bobby can see his teammate up there, Brennan Horan. So let's see if he can make a move to him and try and close this gap. Just about 1 second separates them.
Yeah, and all that battling there, Larry, has also brought Steve Daniel in the SKKJ Racing BMW a little bit closer. Of course, that Jeff Jacobs would be a battle for position there in pro for Daniel.
It's a good thing for Daniel now, watching all this stuff out in front of him. We'll see if they have any more traffic to fight this next lap around. But that certainly is becoming a part of this game, because you find that traffic anywhere going up or down the mountain before you get to the straightaways, and there's just no way to get on by. But look at this, Bobby now just 7/10 back. Look at that gap drop. That's all draft. It's just going to be about 4/10 by the time he gets to the binders up here at the chase.
And we saw how late he was on the brakes early on in this race. Let's see. We know Stubby is certainly excited as he's watching his good friend Bobby Childs get closer. And Childs closes to within a half a car length as they come once again through the chase, through the chicane there, and looked as though perhaps the 88 of Childs was maybe a little bit more. It certainly looked a little bit more composed through that section of the track there, Larry.
Well, I'll tell you, Bobby is using all of his car right now. He's using every bit of it. My worry is he going to cook these tires? Is he going to start finding some tire temp issues? And around this place, you can't afford that. So we'll keep our eyes on Bobby and how well that car handles. If he's able to make the pass, although again, that's teammate on teammate there, T2D action. I don't know that he would force an issue, but he's able to make the pass. That might be good for him, because then he gets set his pace. Chasing like this, he starts these aggressive moves. Not sure he'll be able to get the stick. Because now we've got the other team we're watching among the GT4s, the Orion team. Nothing has changed here since the start of the green flag here. Dan, Frankie, Hartley, still 1, 2, 3. Basically, between the three of them, swapping fastest lap of the race, currently owned by Hartley at 14.7. But you can see the three of them just like a train.
Yeah. I was going to say chew and chew. And in the last time that we had checked in with Thorman and Allen, there was about a 3.5 second gap from that pair up to our Orion trio up at the front of the field. It is now about 6 seconds separating them here, as we are now on board with Eric Violet, currently running second in TCR. And you can see there, he's lost a lot of ground to his teammate, Brandon Whitworth, but he is certainly under attack from our new third place runner, Alex Brown, who has managed to get around Nick Horvath since the last time we checked in. So the 82 Honda Civic, the red and black machine, now sitting back in fourth position. Brown in third, Whitworth in second, and or probably Violet in second, with Whitworth a long way up the road.
Horvath may be struggling with some connection issues. I'm seeing a lot of blinking out of him tonight. Yeah. And when you're that driver, sometimes you back off in spots. You don't really want to run next to somebody too tightly if they are blinking, or if you can tell you're the one blinking. So we'll keep our eyes on him if he's still able to run. What I am curious, though, not that we found yet, is how in the world did Whitworth gap this field here by 4.5 seconds? We know he's had a good stranglehold. He laid down some great qualifying laps, but somewhere along the way, Violet, Brown, and Horvath were not able to keep up with the Whitworth, who is just setting the pace. And there you can see 2 laps in a row, lap 7, lap 8, pretty much generated what we're seeing now.
Yeah, you can see there almost 0.3 of a second there on 3 laps ago, the gap, but. Yeah, a little surprising here to see Whitworth, who is running second in the championship, and he's only, I think, 2 points back from his teammate at the moment. So very, very tight here up at the front of the field, really starting to open things up. So we jump back over to some GT4 action, and this is the battle that just won't quit, Larry. It is Chad Osborne in the number 24 Redline Motorsports BMW, and then Chuck Labano driving the number 34 machine. That's the Labano Racing Mercedes, and they are still at it, and they've still got Steve Daniel now. Daniel, who had been up ahead of these 2 racers, I think, Larry, the last time we checked in, has now fallen back behind.
Well, Lobano is aggressive right now. You're watching him taking these kind of wild lines, but I think the car looks loose. Very loose, if you ask me. As he turned into the Griffin's Bend, just as we picked up the action here, the car tank slapped on entry. He's able to recover and keep going. He's being aggressive. The car is just moving a lot, and that worries me a little bit. That around this place you can't afford a moving around car. You can see it there. It starts as a bit of an understeer and kind of goes to a bit of a snap, and then behind him, you can see Steve Daniel has to kind of back off a little bit and wait to see what the car is going to do. But you can see the result of that is Osborne's able to pull ahead just a little bit kind of rolls for LeBron. Well, he's able to pull some of it back in with the draft, but still losing the gap as they get out of the straightaway.
Yeah, I was going to say, Larry, and looking at that number 34 machine, very tight on corner entry, and he's never making it to the apex as the car pushes wide, but then mid-corner, it all of a sudden gets very loose, and you can see him having to dial in lots of correction to keep the rear end from slapping the wall.
Well, we got lots of changes going on right now. One of the changes we briefly noted there for a second is Bobby Childs is now leading GT4M. He has made his way around teammate Brennan Horn. There you can see him at 88 ahead of the 45. See if we can figure out when that happened, but that move has been made, and it's allowed Jeff Jacobs to kind of sniff around a little bit. He's not too far back, leading the rest of that train of Osborne, Lobano, and Daniel. Just back there, you can see them now coming down the mountain straight. Whereas out in front, the overall lead has not changed. It's still Dam and Schwenke and Hartley continuing to lay down some flyers and just gap the field. Currently 7.5 seconds to Chris Thorman, and then another 6 seconds further to John Allen, currently in fifth. So these three are laying down one heck of a pace, but at some point, it's going to take pit stops for these guys. And I'm just wondering if maybe Hartley's got himself a little bit of a secret and be able to maybe, I don't know, save some fuel. We'll see if there's something going on there for the wise man, Mr. Hartley.
All right, let's take a look here, Larry. Dale Maxwell currently has the number 111 Mercedes in the pit lane. And as he was bringing his car around, talk about Mercedes getting loose.
Yeah.
Oof.
That looks a lot like the David Payton crash from the first lap. So
yeah, except he wasn't able to shed the nose of the car and actually get out of it. It looks like
up by the dip.
Yeah, went about 3 inches into the concrete there. And so Dale Maxwell now on the pit lane showing as a lap down. And suspect that he will be there for quite some time.
Well, I tell you what, over in TCR, Whitworth continues to pound out some quick laps, now over 5 seconds ahead of the next three. And Brown and Horvath, though, are sticking with Eric Violette. So it's still the threesome per second, but Whitworth is just smoking them right now, laying down low 220s. He just reset his personal best lap, the fastest lap actually of anybody in the TCRs in a 220.9. So he is just screaming around here right now.
Yeah, indeed. And again, I was talking to Eric Violette before the race, and one of the things that he had mentioned as far as their pit strategy was to perhaps bring those cars in as the GT4 cars came up onto the back of our leaders, and but a lot of that would have relied upon both of the D2D racers having a gap on the remainder of the field, which is not the case right now, because one of the things that they plan as part of their strategy is ways to keep the rest of the TCR field from perhaps gaining, or a driver in the TCR field from gaining a bonus point for leading a lap. I mean, it goes that deep. And it looks as though at this point,
this is interesting. I know we've got Brennan Horn struggle a little bit as he is now all the way back into Jeff Jacobs. Jacobs almost able to make his way on by as they came around the cutting. They're not able to, but as they head up and over the top of the hill here, they've now fallen further back of Bobby Charles, now almost 1.7 seconds as they crest the hill. But for a moment there, I thought Jeff Jacobs was going to make a move on Brennan and that other Mercedes.
Yeah, it got very packed up there for a moment as both Osborne and Lobano were right up against the back bumper of the number 96 machine as well.
I think we've got a replay of the pass on Brennan from earlier. If we want to cue that up.
Yeah, let's take a look and see.
So you can see Bobby, the trailing car in this twosome, the two teammates there.
A little rub of the wall there maybe for Warren.
perhaps that might have been just enough to slow him down. But look at this gutsy pass. That's teammates there also saying, recognize the moment, let's just go on by. You see Brennan end up lifting there. Smart move, no need to hurt your teammate, but a bit aggressive there for Bobby does pay off, now leading his way through GT4M.
All right, here as we jump back to the live action, and we're on board right now with Jeff Jacobs in that number 38 machine, trailing Brennan Horn and Bobby Childs, and he's managed now to separate out just a little bit from both Horn and from that battle for a third in GT4 AM, as those drivers all coming back out onto the front straight
and
here.
They're going to catch a Dale Maxwell who just took his repairs. It looks like he's pulled back out onto the track, so we might even get a glimpse of him going down the straight. There he is, way up there in the front. So we'll see how long it takes them to get up there. And I was just thinking about, when will the pit stops begin? Because here we are 30 minutes into a 75-minute race. We know the pit window's probably open. Who's going to be the one that dives in and takes the early stop?
Well, we're going to see here, Larry. We anticipated that for the TCR cars, that the pit window would open somewhere around lap 11. And we're sitting at lap 12 for most of those drivers right now. For the GT4 cars, a little bit longer, lap 15. Which is about a lap to go, and it's a pretty short window, only laps 15 to 18. So why don't we do this? We're right up at the top of the hour. Let's quickly take a break. Thank you for some of our sponsors, and hopefully when we come back, we won't have missed all the pit stops. You are watching the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series presented by Performance Texas Elite Graphics, and we'll be right back.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name-brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com. Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
Allow extreme scoring to do the work for you.
And welcome back to Bathurst and Mount Panorama for the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series presented by Performance Texas Elite Graphics. I'm Greg Ginsburg along with Larry Lefty McLeod. And Larry, would you believe that when we went to break, nobody pitted? But we've had some changes here. First up, we had been watching that great battle for third in GT4 AM between Chuck Labano and Chad Osborne. Well, that is all for naught now, as Labano had some issues. Let's take a look as he came down the hill.
Yep, as he has to let the field go on by a little bit, lose the spot, but the car might be okay. But he does lose some track position. Now finds himself just ahead of Russ Ruddock and a couple seconds back from Brad Husty. So he's got some work to do, but that's what happens. You start playing with fire around this place. You start throwing the car around it. Eventually, these walls come back to bite.
And as we watch our 3 Orion Racing drivers come down the front straight and go into Hell Corner, well, the things look a little bit different now than they did when we went to break as well. As maybe just a little bit, as Travis Schwenke, we're going to see what happens here as they came down into the final corner there. And we can just see Schwenke bring the car all the way to the inside. And Mike Dam not putting up much of a fight there, as Travis Schwenke is your new leader. And now into the pit lane on lap number 15, Jeff Jacobs. And it looks like he's the first of our drivers taking to the pits that is not damage induced, as looks like Labano now coming in as well.
So yeah, there for Jacobs especially, he had been kind of in the mix of that battle there with Giles and Glenn Horan. So maybe there's a good opportunity to try and put some daylight there, get a good clean bit of air when he comes back out. So we'll keep our eyes on that. And there is, right on cue, that battle with Giles and Horan, the 2 teammates in the D2D, currently 1-2 in the AM category.
And Larry, they're starting to make up a lot of ground right now on John Allen in that number 101 machine, the number 101 Aston Martin. John Allen currently running 5th in the pro category. We had seen at one point, and you'll see there, as the 2 D2D drivers go right on by the 111 machine.
Is Dale Maxwell?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's Maxwell in the 111, 101, same thing. But Allen now has lost almost 6 seconds or so to Chris Thorman. And it was only about 5 laps ago that Thorman had taken over 4th position.
Yeah, I wonder if John Allen's struggling with his setup tonight. Didn't quite nail it. This place, I would assume, is pretty sensitive to setup to make sure you get a car that dances correctly. And you've seen, for example, we saw Labano's car move it around a lot. Where you see Bobby able to do it and able to catch the car. So I'm wondering if the setup here tonight for John Allen, we got a shot of him there, just isn't quite working for him. It was good enough to hang with the front 3 or 4 for a while, but then you run into those moments that you just can't quite recover from. In the course of a 75-minute race, you're going to have those moments, and if the car setup doesn't respond how you need it to, then you're just going to lose some gap. I think that's what's happened to him. As our front 3, Schwenke, Dam, and Hartley, are making their way around the 133 of Sean Walker.
And all 3 clear the series rookie. And also wanted to mention, this was very interesting now as we've got Chad Osborne pitting in from 3rd in GT4 AM, in talking about Sean Walker. And as Eric Violet was talking up the pace that Walker showed this week in practice, not only is he new to the series, but he has been on iRacing for about 4 weeks. So certainly, this may not be the best outing for him. A very good initial outing. He's running 5th in TCR currently, and I think you can't shake a stick at that. But for as little time as he's been on the platform, great run for him here at Bathurst as we're watching this battle. Once again, this is the battle for the lead in GT4 AM. On board right now with Brennan Horn right up the road ahead of him. Bobby Childs, they're running 6th and 7th overall.
Look how much motion in the steering wheel for Brennan. It's like a whole game of pitch and catch. The car just drifting around some of these little kinks as you come across the top of the mountain. Just amazing to watch the car control right now, Brennan. Oof. Bobby, aggressive,
Bobby
too aggressive. That's
off the
walls.
Oh, and Bobby Childs, as he comes down through the dipper, Bobby
you saw
Childs.
what happened. He got late on the brakes coming all the way down into the skyline, and at that point you're just along for the ride. It's a downhill braking.
You
just
can't
seem to control it.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate for Bobby.
Yeah, so there you go. So Bobby Childs is going to bring that car now back to the pits, and his chances of taking the win here tonight in GT4 AM essentially finished, as Brennan Horn now has a good amount of distance. He's got almost 11 seconds between he and Brad Husty.
Yeah, he does, but remember, some of his rivals there, in the cases of Osborne especially, have pit and now didn't have to hit the brakes sitting there 100 yards from the dipper and wait for his teammate to stay out of the way. So Brennan does get a little bit hurt by that. His lap time here going to be affected by that issue. So we'll see. He does come into the pits right now, decides to go ahead and do it. So we'll keep our eyes on the rest of the field here with Jacobs, of course, running. See where he comes into this, but also
and Brad Husty now pitting in from second as well. He's the third car in line. There you go, just coming around the bend in that blue and green machine. Pardon me, Steve Daniel between he and Horn. And
Yeah, so
now we're starting to see a lot of them come in. Russ Ruddick in, Tom Jenkins as well. So a good portion of the GT4 AM field coming into the pit lane.
I'm watching for Chad Osborne. He's, to me, the one you got to keep your eye on in his BMW. Where does he end up? And there he is, coming out of the chase, right down into Murray's corner here. And we'll keep our eye on Brennan Horn, still in his pit box. This is going to be really close to when they come out. Brennan Horn
And
now
Horn
just
back
rolling out of his
underway.
pit box. Right, Steve Daniel right behind him as well.
And it's a fairly short run back out onto the track, onto the mountain straight. And both Horn as well as Steve Daniel are going to beat Chad Osborne to the punch. Of course, Steve Daniel running in pro, so move Osborne now into second in AM, and Brad Husty for the moment is sitting third.
So Osborne not able to completely close, but he does have a little bit of momentum here. We'll see if he can kind of, you can see him right through there in the back of the shot, but Brennan able to come in and out, holding down the lead there in GT4 AM by a couple seconds. But he does have a pro category driver in Steve Daniel right behind him, so that could be a good little push. And I also suspect Jeff Jacobs will be in the mix when Jacobs does finally. Did he take his stop? He did take his stop.
He did take a stop. And here, all three of the Orion Racing men, as well as John Allen, into the pits now.
Well, we'll see if any of those Orion teammates were able to save some fuel. I suspect perhaps Mr. Hartley. Maybe, just maybe, Hartley's got a little something in the tank. All pun intended. Look at these.
John Allen still trying to get to his pit stall there.
He ought to just pull out of there when they do. Who cares if they don't have enough fuel? Let's make it interesting. Just scare them all by pulling out in front of them.
Yeah, right in front of them.
Oh, there we go. It is Travis Schwenke first on the move.
Then Hartley, the driver who we thought, with the driver that we thought might have had a little bit more advantageous fuel savings, is actually the third driver back out. And by the way, Larry, getting word from the interwebs is Bobby Childs has gone to Stubby to let him fill him in on what exactly happened. He said he was planning for his pit stop and screwed up the corner, and obviously we saw him bounce off the wall.
So he was texting while driving. Okay.
Yeah, well, we know that's something that Brenton Horn does. It's apparently quite prevalent in the D2D field.
I'm sure he's full on social media posting in the middle of his driving for Brennan. But
no,
Bobby,
that's probably how he communicates with Crew Chief Stubby.
So this is interesting here. Travis Schwenke catching a bit of lap traffic as they climb up and over the hill. It's going to allow Mike Dam just to close up a little bit. We'll see if Mike catches the same traffic as they come around here through the parks.
Comes up right onto the back of some of the TCR traffic there as they come back down through McPhillamy Park and start to run down the hill.
Yeah, the parks is called Reed Park, Frog Hollow, Solomon Park, McPhillamy Park. It's just where you park. All right,
onto the pit lane there now.
TCRs are in.
Yeah, it's Alex Brown pitting in from third. And Whitworth, Violet, Horvath still out on track, running 1, 2, 3.
Horvath, though, now a couple seconds behind Violet, so those guys are all sort of split. You can see the gap there. There's the Eric Violet. And then the gap back to Nick Horvath behind him. Horvath with a couple of GT4s in his mirrors. And of course, the 78 of John Casey going on by. Along with Stephen May. We haven't talked about Stephen yet tonight.
No.
In that BMW.
Yeah, indeed. The Mayforce Racing number 5, another new driver to the series this season.
We're on board momentarily there for Russ Ruddick, but now we're back up to Stephen May here main force entry is describing. It's good to see more entries coming into the field here as he's chucking his BMW around through the park section. Car just sliding a lot. Look at the motion in that car. So much drift.
Like right there.
Yeah.
Ooh, and he's starting to get very loose, Larry.
He's trying to hold it though. He's being cautious. He's letting the car slide, and that's okay. And he gets in the pace of the TCR, not much slower behind him. And Nick Horvath, you know, in the straightaways, the BMW is going to have the legs, but through the twisty bits, TCRs are just as quick.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, again, in that conversation with Eric Violet, he was saying that in most cases, if you're coming up onto the back of one of the TCR cars by the time you get to the cutting and you're heading up the hill, you might as well just stick behind them and follow them all the way back down until you get to the Conrad Straight, because what you would make up going side by side and trying to push the car through, you would maybe net half a second versus just following them down the hill.
So we got a good shot here. Brennan Horan, still your leader at GT4 AM, but he's got Steve Daniel in the Pro Class category chasing him down. But this is Eric Violet, and right behind him, Nick Horvath, are coming into the pits for their stops.
And all the while, Brendan Whitworth still out on track.
Not wanting to concede the 1 point to the competition. As you were saying, part of the strategy is somebody from DTD had to be the last one to pit.
Exactly, and so that'll be it. So assuming Violet makes it back out onto the track surface ahead of Nick Horvath when Brandon Whitworth pits in, that would allow Eric Violet to pick up a bonus point for leading a lap here tonight.
So there's Violet right now. Since he's already stopped, he was about 7 or 8 seconds actually behind Whitworth when he came in for his stop. So it's going to be tough for him to get the lap-led point. And Lino Carreras actually was just there as Eric was coming out, already a couple laps down. But here's a good shot of our leader, Brandon Whitworth. Yes, it is.
And Larry, it looks like Chuck Labano, who had been in that battle for the longest time for third in the AM category. He had that impact with the wall. We caught it just as we came back from the break, and then he pitted in almost immediately. He's had the car in, getting some additional repairs. He has just now rejoined the field, but he is going to be 4 laps down from our leaders in GT4.
This guy in TCR is got to be coming in for his stop here soon. That's Brandon Whitworth. We'll see if he does, and then we'll see how much of a gap he's got on the field. Like I said, I think he had about 8 seconds in the bag when his teammate Eric Violet came in for his stop. Nick Horvath about 5 or 6 seconds. Those guys all still in that order, with Alex Brown now currently in 4th. So we'll see Whitworth.
And here he comes into the pit lane. Exactly. We thought that the pit window, Larry, would run to about lap 18, and Whitworth on his 19th lap comes in to take a load of fuel. As he comes in, we should see here, we'll see the rest of the TCR field following through about a half a minute later.
Yeah, assuming he's got a good clean stop, looks clean so far, he should maintain his lead. Obviously, no tires going on around this place. Yeah,
you got Walker and the 133 machine on the pit lane as well.
He's taking repairs,
and he's been there for quite some time.
Yeah, about a minute and a half already. All right, so Whitworth is on the move. Eric Violet just now coming into Murray's corner, so this should still be a pretty good gap for Whitworth as he pulls back out of the pits. Probably going to be around 10 seconds. See what that looks like.
Yeah, about 6.5.
All right,
6.5, 7.
Well, with about 27 minutes to go, we'll see if Eric's got anything in his tank to try and catch up with his teammate and make a game out of this. Maybe he'll get a little lucky with some traffic. But these guys, they've lost one of their teammates a couple seconds back at Rob Hartley, but Schwenke and Dam now the 2-man show, 8 seconds in front of the field for the next 23 minutes. See who can come out on top here at Mount Panorama.
Yeah, and I'm still somewhat confused, Larry, about the extra time that Hartley spent on the pit lane. And obviously it's translated now as he's had to work his way through some additional traffic, and he's sitting almost 8 seconds in arrears of Schwenke and Dam.
Yeah, well, about 5 seconds of that was just in that pit stop, and the rest, as you say, he's definitely gone slower once he's come back out. That's unfortunate. I thought perhaps Hartley was going to be the bit of a wild card for us. Unfortunately, it went the other way for him. The announcer's curse has struck again, and he ends up being the one kind of odd man out. I say this with the guy currently sitting on the overall podium. It's not like he's lost his race,
right?
But not currently fighting for the win, as these two guys currently are. Which, you know, it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. As Schwenke, of course, the winner at Daytona 2 weeks ago.
And Mike Dam might have impacted the wall areas just as we cut away. And it looks like he's managed to recover, but a big moment there for the 93.
Catch a little bit of the elbow.
That is what it looked like. Is the rear end might have tapped the wall, and the car shot to the inside, the driver's left, and he does get it back under, gets it back underneath him.
Only lost a couple tenths. Great camera work by our crew at that moment, where it doesn't look like too much damage there on Mike's right rear, so may have brushed the wall, maybe like the old the Montreal Wall of Champions. He just sort of put the little round donut marks on there and keep going, and perhaps he may have survived this one.
There goes Eric Quatlet, moves over driver's left to allow the two BMWs through, and then immediately tucks in right back behind the number 93 machine, trying to get the toe up the hill.
A little toe wouldn't be so bad, and not a bad place to get it going down the mountain straight. If he can stay within draft distance, then he can kind of use that all the way up the hill. As we know, that car is pretty quick once you start turning.
And that may be critical as Violet trying to make up ground on his teammate Whitworth. Still about 6 seconds separating those two drivers.
And there it is, Brandon. Just now climbing that hill around the Corby corners. Corners. Look at my Australian accent.
Yes, you do.
I do.
You're kind of at New Zealand, and soon enough.
I had it full mastered when I spent a couple weeks in Australia a few years ago. Great place, by the way. If you're ever gonna to go on a vacation somewhere, if they'll let you in the country, Australia is certainly one of the best places. Absolutely beautiful country. Got to spend a couple of weeks in the Melbourne area myself and thoroughly enjoyed it. I did not get my way out though to Mount Panorama. Did not get to see the Bathurst site, so maybe the next time. Look at that. These guys go from passing one D2D driver on the way down the mountain straight and past the other down the Conrad straight on the same lap.
See, it's as though one of them may, as Schwenke gets by the 42 machine of Whitworth, and Dam's dropped, maybe even from the last lap, dropped a little bit further back from Schwenke now, as there is a 10-second gap. Had been a 10-second. No, let's try that again. Not 10 seconds. About 1.5 seconds.
10 is hardly the other car, but yeah, Mike Dan may have just taken a little bit more cautiously through the forest elbow on that subsequent lap. I know I do that when you rub the wall on one lap. You're like, I'm going to give that wall just a little bit more room next time by, but still 1.4 seconds. Now the issue is he's got to wait till he rounds the corner to get by Brandon Whitworth, which is just going to leave even more room in front of him for teammate Schwenke. So Travis having a pretty solid race here tonight, constantly watching his relative and watching his mirrors to see where those teammates are, and then of course watching traffic out in front of him. But so far so good, as we're just a couple minutes away from the hour mark before we go all the way to 75 minutes.
And I believe this is one of, check the schedule, this is one of 2 75-minute races this season. We'll have another one for round number 6 at the National Park of Speed, Road America, in towards the end of March 20th. But a great season still on hand. Next week, or probably in 2 weeks, we're going to be going to Magny-Cours, another new circuit on the iRacing platform, and to Rudskogen 2 weeks after that. So a lot of circuits that these drivers may not have a lot of experience with at this point.
I had a friend of mine posting on social media the other day saying, hey, I'm back on iRacing. Are there any good leagues and series that I should look at joining? I immediately said this one right here, as well as, of course, the Classic Sprint and the Challenge when it comes around and all that. So these are obviously some of the best out there. So, and still taking entries for some of these series. So tell your friends, sign up. By the way, is that a little bit of a wrinkle in the front?
I believe it is. Now, you know, Larry, of course, in the other Ricmotech series that we see Brennan Horn race in, that, you know, a lot of times edges of the track are just, you know, they're guides for Brennan. I think he had somewhere around 50 incident points last weekend in the World Challenge, but yeah, I think there's a little bit of a wrinkle there up front. Certainly not hurting him at this point, as he has almost a 7-second advantage right now over Chad Osborne, running in second. And Osborne's just had a very quiet, you know, well, yeah. I say quiet race. It was certainly not a quiet race early on, as he had that great battle with Chuck Labano. But he's run a very consistent race.
We talked about this at the start. You've got to have some talent. You got to know this place. You got to practice this place. You got to really be on your game, on your marks. You need a little bit of luck to be able to do what you're doing out here. To maybe the luck of traffic, you know, the luck of the bounces and things like that. But you've got to really be on your game for the full 75 minutes. And so far, 55 minutes, these guys that are leading classes or on the podiums provisionally in their classes have done just that so far. But there's still about 20 minutes left to make all the mistakes, so these drivers have got to be extra careful. But look at this. His Brennan Horn has definitely slowed down. His last lap at 2:20. Chad Osborne's at 2:16. Brad Husty's at 2:16.
Yeah, and he's definitely closing down. Well, Larry, you know, just as we were talking about Brennan, and we flipped away from him for a little bit to talk about Chad Osborne, let's take a look as he comes through the chase, and there's where he lost his time.
He's already got a wrinkle, so the damage had already happened, but this is the rest of the time. Nice recovery, by the way. I'm sure he's got to give up some course cut penalty, but no impact there. That did cause the lap time to lose a couple seconds, but that gives a little bit of energy maybe to Chad Osborne behind him, who can now see his rival and know that not only did he miss it, he's also got some damage on the front of there. So Chad, not out of this yet. 20 minutes, 19 minutes now to go. This is game on now.
And looks like we've got some of the Frito Sport guys out on the chat right now. I would suspect this is probably Edgar Sancinelli wanting to know where Chuck Labano is. Chuck currently sitting 23rd overall, 9th in AM. Again, he's trying to recover after that extended amount of time in the pits in his early.
Yep, he's out there running. Probably fighting a bit of a loose car earlier, but you can see he's taken his repairs. He's got this going again. He'll be, I'm sure, working on his setup pretty hard for the next round, but certainly showed he's got some pace at times.
Wow, and did you see the 67 machine of Alex Brown, how that thing was dancing under braking right by as they were coming into the chase? That thing was just the front end moving left to right, the rear end moving left to right under braking, and he somehow got it turned in as Alex is still running 4th in TCR. He's got about 4 seconds he needs to make up if he wants to challenge Nick Horvath for that last podium position.
Well, the lead in pro is being challenged. As we were talking earlier about Mike Damon, when he started to fade a second and a half, well, he had closed that gap about a half a second. Now as they fight their way around, I believe it was Marlon Jones in the TCR car, as they come up around the cutting. But Dam is certainly on his game right now, trying to make a push to catch Travis here with the last 10 minutes, or 15 minutes about to be upon us. So it's not over yet at the front of the field. I think Rob Hartley is pretty much trying to play for 3rd place at this point, but Dam thinks he's got a shot to take the win if he can catch Schwenke. And of the 3 Orion cars, Dam, I believe, is the one that doesn't yet have a win here in this young season.
No, that is correct. Both Hartley and Schwenke have wins. Schwenke winning round number 2. Hartley taking the round 1 win at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta.
Now Mike Dam does have 2 second places already, so he's got his complete fill of second places. He would love to see a first place tonight, but I think he's able to close this up. Maybe he needs one more bit of traffic to help him and not hurt him, but I don't think this thing's over yet. We'll see what kind of push he can make here in the last 15.
And getting a little bit of push through the S's through the chase there, Larry. But I was just watching as they came down the end of the Conrads right now. Might mention on the last lap, Mike Dam almost 0.8 of a second faster than Travis Schwenke. Let's see how this changes as they come across the line. And this time around, actually Schwenke slightly faster, about pulled back about 0.4. But
yeah, that was that traffic that they ran into, because at the point where they caught the traffic, Dan was all of about 0.5 back. Then he loses about 0.7. But look at this already. Now he's back within that magical 1 second. I say magical, that's the point where the draft really starts to sniff. So now you can see him pulling. You watch that gap coming down. That's all draft. Now they've got to turn in.
And so I was watching, Larry, as they were coming down the end of the Conrad into the chase, comparing Schwenke and Dam. And Dam was on the brakes maybe 100 to 150 feet later. Got 2 more miles an hour down the straight than Schwenke did, and was entering the chase at just about the same speed. So, picking up in small little increments there on the back half of the course.
When they crossed our finish, it was about 0.95 seconds, maybe 1.0. Now down to 0.6. This is essentially nose to tail as they come down here through Skyline. Look at it, using all of those curves, just dancing the car. A little bit of a late turn in there for Schwenke. Dam a little bit smoother, and you can just tell by trailing how he was just kind of a little bit late through there. This the most critical corner on the track, though. Got to get a good
the elbow.
Next.
Yeah, and you can see, wow.
That's
as
a little
the
bit of
rear end once again steps out a little bit on Mike Dam, and you can see as Dam lost almost 4 car lengths on the exit there. Just did not carry the speed. Yeah.
Look at the delta now, because he was definitely fading, and then all of a sudden the draft starts bringing him back in. He's going to be about 4.5, 5/10, I think, when they go to the binders up here at the left-hander. That's a pretty impressive, though, for Dam to not let that little rub of the wall hurt him too badly. But I think he's just going to be looking for opportunity now. He's right where he needs to be.
Indeed, but Larry, even coming through the chase, Schwenke almost 5 miles an hour faster coming through the chase than Mike Dam. Mike Dam may think that seemingly every time he has one of these little bobbles at the elbow, he lets out just a little, lets off just a little bit. I think more than anything to test the equipment out and make sure that he hasn't lost the right rear of the car. But he pulls right back within now 0.8.
The other thing for Dan, I'm wondering if there's a fuel saving issue. He's just trying to make sure. So one of the tricks you do is you coast before you brake. So you wouldn't see the peak speed. You'd see them lift before they actually go to the brakes. And remember, when they came into the pits, they kind of came out together. But remember, Dam also led the first part of this race. Wouldn't have been able to do any fuel savings. Perhaps Schwenke, who didn't lead the first 30 minutes or so, maybe was able to save some fuel. So that might be what Mike Dam's trying to do now, is save some fuel, keep this close, make a move with 3 laps to go. That might be what Mike Dam's planning right now.
As they make their run once again down the hill.
This gap is about 0.7 or so. This is, freedom of choosing your braking point, freedom of choosing your line. When you get up here 7/8, you just don't need to be on somebody's bumper going down through this section here through the dipper.
See, and Dam makes up a ton of ground in this section right here, Larry, as they make their way down through 15, 16, and 17. And then when they get to the elbow, and Dam turned in a little bit later that time, you'll notice.
Yeah. But, again, he's in the draft. This will be worth about 0.4 or so if he uses it all the way to the braking zone. You see, he was at 7:30 or so, 0.730 when they were getting on the gas coming out of the corner. There they are at 6:30. Becomes about 0.2 on this lap by the time they actually go to the brakes. And he does again, where he fades back before going to the brakes. I do wonder if he's saving fuel. At some point, got to make a move. You're not going to get too many chances. You got to time it right.
Time is starting to run down as we've got now just about 11 minutes remaining in the 75-minute race here from Bathurst. We're watching our leaders right now. Travis Schwenke, driver the number 16 Orion Racing BMW, his teammate Mike Dam running in second.
So a couple of the battles I can see out there. It looks like the Jeff Jacobs and Steve Daniel have a little bit of a battle going on between those longtime rivals. There you can see Jacobs in the orange SDK Foundation Mercedes, and Steve Daniel, of course, in his classic liveried BMW out there as they're coming up on Alex Brown in the TCR. But Jacobs and Daniel battling for, I believe that's 6th overall.
Indeed, battle for 6th in pro and overall. And they just interesting that they followed the Honda all the way down and through Murray's corner, through the final corner. As you can see now, Jacobs moving to the inside, the driver's left, and Steve Daniel trying to get as much draft as he can, but I would have expected that Mercedes to be able to get by the Civic a lot more easily, and Steve Daniel now taking advantage of maybe the hesitation on the part of Jeff Jacobs as he pulls now right back up to the back bumper, and he may be looking to take a move going down into turn 2 in the Griffin's
Jacobs may have hurt himself a little bit. I thought he had an opportunity to really use the pick of the Honda to his advantage, but actually allowed Steve Daniel to get a really good run instead. But here they are, nose to tail.
Yeah, you know, for a moment there, and he took so long and didn't try to get around the Civic until they came out of Hell Corner, that if anything, he just, you know, it's one of those unforced errors, I think, that if need be, I think the Civic would have given him ground if he just stepped to the inside going to the corner.
We'll see if Steve Daniel has anything for Jeff. These guys are longtime rivals. Seems in every series these guys end up on the track together somewhere at some point during the race. Tonight, no exception to that. But there you can see Steve Daniel gaining pretty good over the last 5 laps, just essentially either matching or ahead of Jeff Jacobs' pace. So see if Steve can get a good run. One run here through the next corner and back onto the Conrad Straight to maybe have a draft pass to going into the chase. Far back for a pass. We saw this sort of gap. He's about that 8/10 as they come onto the straightaway. So the same thing happening between Dan and Schwenke. I think you want to try and get on the gas to be aggressive, about 4 or 5/10 behind the rival if you want to make that pass. Too far to do it this time.
And given that he was right on the back bumper as they were heading up the mountain, he lost about 3/10 on the run down the hill.
Yep. And Jacobs a little cleaner across the curves there at that chicane coming to the chase. Daniel, though, pretty aggressive and pretty quick everywhere else.
You know, he picked up another 2/10 or so coming through the chase and onto the front straight. And, you know, here, Larry, we may have an opportunity to, again, to see the kind of aggression of Jeff Jacobs behind the wheel, because they're coming up on some more TCR traffic now as we jump back to this battle for the overall lead with Schwenke and Dam. And I believe they've also got some slower traffic just ahead of them as well, which may cause a bit of a compression. Actually, it looks like they may get to that car just past the elbow, which might be the best thing that could have happened to them.
For Schwenke, yes. Maybe give him a chance to do a little bit of drafting, but maybe they're a little bit too far. But look at this, 3/10. I talked about you want to be 3/10 when you come onto this straightaway if you want to make that pass. The issue for Dam is they're also working their way around that lap traffic, which creates a bit of a wild card. I don't know if this is the moment for Dam. You can see him right there, holds it at 3/10, backs off a little bit before the brakes. He's going to wait on the time.
We've got these laps running at about 2 minutes and 14 seconds. We've got just about 6 minutes left on the clock, a little bit less than, or a little bit more than 6 minutes. So time is definitely running out as we watch Jacobs and Daniel now run down the mountain right behind one of our Civic Type R's. Yeah,
that's Horvath right there in front of him.
Horvath, yeah.
Currently running 3rd in TCR. Let's see if Jacobs can hold off Steve Daniel. Daniel backed off a little bit, had a little bit of, decided to go visit McPhillamy Park as they went around there a little, but didn't cost him too much, other than maybe a couple of tenths. But right now, Jacob's going to go ahead and use the TCR car to his advantage and maybe, just maybe, keep Steve Daniels behind Horvath for just a little bit. Jacobs puts a little bit of daylight that he desperately needs right now.
And interesting here, Larry, is they're coming up. We'll have to see if that's the 101 or if it's the 111 just ahead. I think that's John Allen just ahead. Still struggling with that car. And that could be a shot for position as well, as Jacobs and Daniel now starting to come up on the 101 machine, running 5th overall.
Yeah, top 5 on the line here. Late in the race, Allen struggling. Jacobs and Daniel both been putting laps faster than John Allen the last few times by. We should have at least, I got to say, a good 3 laps left in this race. So plenty of opportunity for us to have a 3-way battle for 5th place. And plenty of laps for Mike Dam to make a move on Schwenke. Can this be it? As he's a half a second back with a good run, really good run.
Very good run out of the elbow.
Great run. Look at him, half a second. Not even close to the kink yet. Let's see if this could be close enough to make a dive bomb move into the chicane. He's going to be there, but he's going to make Travis think about it. Yeah, fill in some mirrors, but he's just saying, hey, I'm here.
Oh, and a great run through the chase as well. Both drivers look as though those cars are just sticking like glue, but still a little bit more pace through the chase for the 93 machine as he pulls right up onto the back of the 16. A little bit of a wiggle coming onto the front straight, and the 16 machine maybe got a little bit better run there, of course, out of Murray's corner, out of the final corner, and that little wiggle didn't help Dam's cause in the least as he now drops back about 2.5 car lengths.
With just about 4 minutes to go, we should be looking at 2 laps. Should be pretty close, but I think this should be, next time by should be white flag. So for Mike Dam, knowing that situation, he's got to get right up on the back of Schwenke and force an error or force a move if he wants to win this race and get his first win of the season.
And Jeff Jacobs continuing to close things down on John Allen in the battle for 5th. For the 2nd lap in a row, Jacobs almost 1.6 seconds faster than the 101 Aston Martin. You can see as John Allen pokes to the inside there for a moment just to give a brief defense on the 38 machine, as they're now all in a line coming onto the front straight to complete lap number 31.
John Allen definitely struggling with this car, struggling to make apexes, struggling to get on the power cleanly. And he may just be a sitting duck for Jeff Jacobs and Steve Daniel. But these guys with a lap and a half to go through the dip for the second to last time. Let's see if Mike Dam this time. Look at him, 3/10 back. He's pushing. I think he's thinking it's now or never. Look at that run he's going to get. Look at that, 2/10 back, right on his bumper.
And this is a heck of a lot better run than he got the last time around. Although interestingly enough, Larry, the past couple of laps, as they come out of the elbow, it always seems as though, and we know that Schwenke's probably trying to break the draft a little bit, but Mike Dam seems hesitant to actually use the draft by sitting right in behind the car ahead of him. And I'm wondering if that's worth a couple feet.
Yeah, a couple things I was kind of witnessing there. Now you look at Schwenke, kind of missed his turn in there, coming around this chicane. Mike Dam was not aggressive. He did not want to go. I think he just wanted to make Travis think about it, force an error. But here he is pushing Travis around, but he's not actually going for any kind of dive bomb passes.
Well, I mean, certainly as the white flag is in the air, and we've got 1 lap left here at Mount Panorama, Larry, with Travis Schwenke leading into the last lap, Mike Dam running in 2nd. I mean, the key obviously here is to bring both cars home, to have them both cross the checkered flag and finish 1-2. Sure. You don't want to impact that by forcing an inadvertent move.
Right, but the last time as they came out of the elbow, it was clear that Mike Dam had a run.
Yeah.
But you saw him backing off. He was putting himself into the wind and not staying in the draft. He clearly was not going to make a pass, no matter how good a run he got. Now, I'm wondering if that's calculated, thinking if he's going to do it, it's going to be last lap or nothing. rather than doing it on the second to last lap. And look at him here, really pushing Travis around. If they were strictly just trying to bring the team home, he wouldn't be a 10th and a half off his team.
Yeah, he'd be a couple car lengths back.
He's forcing the issue. He wants to go by, but wants Travis to make a mistake. And there you go. Speaking of getting by, Jeff Jacobs has made the pass on John Allen with 1 lap to go.
As they are now starting their last lap and now moving to the inside, Steve Daniel trying to get around the 101 machine and move up a position, gets back in line as they come through turn 1.
And by the way, Brennan Horn, you can see in the background of this shot, he's the fastest of that 4. I don't think he's good enough to get there, but our AM leader certainly laying down some pretty good pace here as Steve Daniel wants to get past John Allen here on the white flag lap.
And it's going to get crowded as we've got some TCR, one of our TCR drivers going into the grass to give Steve Daniel room. Was that Violet?
That was, yes. He wanted no part.
Oh yeah, look at that. that was our second place running TCR car going into the grass on the last lap.
Here it is. Mike Dam, last chance. Down the Conrad Straight, not making a move. Let's see if Schwenke can hit the binders and get through this corner one more time.
Yeah, he went a little deep on the last lap, but this time keeps the car underneath him. You can see Mike Dam taking a look to the inside and now realizes he's not far alongside. He's going to get back in line as they come through the final corner. And Schwenke getting very loose. The rear end steps out on him, but Travis Schwenke is going to take the win here at Bathurst. Mike Dam is going to finish in second, so that is 2 wins in a row, I believe, for Travis Schwenke. Mike Dam, 3 races, 3 rounds, 3 second-place finishes. Robert Hartley brings his Orion Racing BMW home to take the last step on the podium. As we're watching here, Brennan Horan on his final lap. He's got almost an 11-second lead, I believe now 13 seconds on Chad Osborne in the AM category
Brennan
field.
Horan catch John Allen. There's John Allen, who's in a different class, but Allen's been slowing down. There he is, going to slow down again. Brennan Horan's going to pick up a spot, not in class, but on the overall. There, though, is going to be the winner in TCR. That's Brandon Whitworth. Flag to flag for him.
So Brandon Whitworth from D2D eRacing, he's going to take the win in TCR. Eric Violet about 17 seconds back. We'll see how he does, but we're going to watch Brennan Horan, driver the number 45 D2D eRacing Mercedes, take the win in AM, and there is just behind his teammate Eric Violet, who's going to finish second in TCR. So we've got out of our 3 classes, D2D taking 2 of the wins as they did 2 weeks ago, and Orion Racing taking the win in pro. And look at that as John Allen off the throttle here as he crosses the line. I'm wondering if perhaps, and it looks like John's going to try and drive that car back to maybe drive it to Japan. I'm wondering, as slow as he was going there at the end, maybe he was running a little low on fuel.
Yeah, possibly. Not exactly a classic John Allen type of fight tonight, but he'll be back another round, I'm sure. But it allowed folks like, there he is, Jeff Jacobs, to get into the top 5 tonight. Great drive for him, as well as Steve Daniel, who was right behind him there at the finish to take home 6. So good battles all around. A couple of great winners here. Can't wait to talk to them.
All right. Well, Larry, before we do, let's take a quick break. We're going to thank some of our sponsors. And when we come back, we're going to have some of our podium finishers here from Bathurst, where you have just seen round number 3 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series. We'll be right back.
Extreme Scoring to do the work for you.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name-brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
search is over. The most comprehensive league scoring solution is here, with the ability for multi-level championships, custom incident tracking, post-race time penalties, support for heats, drop weeks display, multi-car team scoring, advanced web widgets, rookie championships, a custom paint system, and load those results in seconds. Visit extremescoring.info today.
And welcome back to Mount Panorama, where you've just seen round number 3 of the Extreme Motorsports Sports Car Series presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics. I'm Greg Ginsberg along with Larry Lefty McLeod, and let's take a look at that finishing order where Travis Schwenke takes the win in Pro with Mike Dam and Robert Hartley as Orion Racing teammates. Rounding out the podium in AM, Brennan Horn takes the win for D2D E-Racing. Then we've got Chad Osborne for Redline. He comes home in second, and great run for Brad Husty from Midfield Motorsports. He comes home in third. And then in TCR, same team, different order. Brandon Whitworth getting his first win of the season in the D2D E-Racing number 42 Honda Civic Type R. Eric Violette gives up his first win of the season. He comes home in second, nothing to be ashamed of there. And then Nick Horvath from Lead Paw Racing, he comes home in third. And so, Larry, let's take a look. It looks like it's been kind of slow going for our drivers to our podium finishers to get all set up for this this beautiful front straight photograph. But hey, look, there is everybody. Let's do this.
Hey, it's a difficult photo when you all have to be hanging upside down because you're in the down under. I'm just saying, it's impressive.
It is. All right, let's do this. Let's bring in, as we do typically each week, Larry, our TCR podium finishers. We're going to start off tonight. A little odd bringing him in first. We're going to bring in Eric Violette in the number 89, driver of the number 89 Honda Civic Type R, finishing second tonight at Bathurst.
All right, so Eric joining us, finishing second tonight, but I want to talk about the drive into the grass with a lap to go, trying to stay out of the way of the GT4s. That's some impressive mirror driving, if I do say so.
Yeah, I saw them, and I was like, I got the white flag, and I wasn't sure if they got the checkered or if they're on white. So I asked Jacobs, and I'm like, you guys on last lap, or did you guys get checkers? He goes, last lap. I'm like, I'm going to pull over, driver right, you guys go left. And I was hoping they'd go single file, and I was looking, I'm like, ah, crap. They're too wide. I'm like, I'll just go in the grass. And Brennan was back there, and I knew I wasn't going to get back up to speed. I'll figure I'll let him go too. The scary part, though, is once I got back on it, my relative, I had it adjusted so that I was more at the top instead of at the middle, because I'm always watching for what's behind me, you know, with the GT4s coming up. And I saw Nick above the normal line. I'm like, oh crap, did I let Nick go by? And then it took me a second to realize he was still back there. I'm like, oh, Chris.
Oh, it's a very headsy, though, way to keep your eyes out and to know the battles around you. That's actually not an easy thing to do in interclass racing, to be aware of that there may be a battle coming up, and I'm sure those guys appreciated it. But for you tonight, boy, your teammate was fast, but you had quite a battle on your hands. You had a couple of guys, Nick and Alex, they were fighting with you for a while. It's great to see some new blood coming in and challenging you guys.
Yeah, Nick and Alex have been here for a little bit, but Nick's just, Nick's always quick every time.
Yeah.
And Alex has brought up the pace, from the first couple races. He's all over it. He always struggled with those first couple laps, then we got away from him. This time it was not happening. But Nick usually just struggles with the consistency, and so he's just had a couple of bad laps. So I figured there's no way Nick's going to survive this track. And he was all over it. Both of them give me a run for my money there.
Yeah, great job for them. But for yourself, another podium. The points are updated. You still got a little bit of a margin there on your teammate. We'll talk to him in a minute. But a good race for you tonight. And, as always, D2D, bringing it home. So we're going to take a minute and talk with Brandon and give you the rest of the night to enjoy the evening.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
All right, there you go. Eric Violette, driver of the number 89 D2D E-Racing Honda Civic. So, Larry, coming into tonight, did you also say, yeah, that Greg, he's never going to survive this track?
No, I thought the announcer was going to collapse. That's what I thought was going to happen.
That's right. All right, let's bring in our TCR winner tonight, Eric Violette's teammate, driver of the number 42 Honda Civic Type R. It's Brandon Whitworth.
Brandon Whitworth, so a couple of second places to start the season in the first 2 rounds, but tonight you look like you came in with a mission, putting yourself on pole and never looking back. You must love this track.
Yeah, it's pretty fun, and also nerve-wracking.
75 minutes of nerve-wracking. I don't know if I could take it. I would have clobbered a wall or two a long, long time ago, but you just seemed to be getting faster as it went on. Were you even bothered to watch the relative to see how much you were gapping the rest of the guys, or were you just so focused on hit the next mark, hit the next lap, do it?
Yeah, once at the start of the race, I was definitely focused because we were all running pretty tight, and then I looked up and Eric was like 3.5 seconds behind me. I don't even know what happened. And after that, I was like, okay, I have to keep driving this fast because if I make a mistake, Eric's going to be on me really quick. And then and Nick and Alex were right there with him, so I was like, I can't make a mistake, so I got to drive a little bit conservative, but I can't drive too conservatively because then I'll be too slow. So it was definitely a balancing act the whole time.
Worked. I tell you, sometimes the best defense is a good offense. You just turn the mirrors down and don't even look behind you. Don't even worry about it. You seem to demonstrate that in all tonight, and staying clear of the lapping GT4s, the slower GT4s. It just seemed to be a bit hectic at times, but you just seemed to shrug it all off and pull home your first victory of the season. So congrats on that. I'm sure there's some folks that helped you along the way to get the victory.
Yeah, we got to thank sponsors, PFETG, Ricmotech, and the guys for putting on the league, and of course my family for supporting me when I'm doing this.
Yeah, well, awesome stuff.
I'm a little tired.
You put on a heck of a show, and yes, you deserve maybe to crack a cold one or something to celebrate this, or maybe go crack open a Foster's or something, and enjoy it and celebrate for this. This is a well-earned victory tonight, Brandon.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, there you go. Brandon Whitworth, tonight's winner in TCR for D2D eRacing. All right, so Larry, let's move now over to another racer from D2D. He took the win and his 3rd win in a row in this very young sports car series. Brendan Horan, tonight's winner in GT4 AM.
Brendan Horan, a heck of a victory tonight, but that's a whole lot of ups, a whole lot of downs, and probably not the most pristine race you ever ran, but at the end you had the pace. Tell me a little bit about some of those things we were watching.
No, that was a really difficult race for me. I think this track really pushed me to my limits here in these cars, and yeah, every corner I was just fighting, and it wasn't the setup. The setup was great. It was just driver difficulties, but no, it was exciting. I had a lot of fun battling with Bobby and Chad and Jeff and everyone else in that group, and that was a lot of fun. I hated to see that lead pack pull away from me, but I could not keep it together to keep up with them.
Yeah, absolutely madness there. Yeah, with you and Bobby going at it for the first half of the race was just crazy. So sad to see him, and you were hitting the brakes. It was almost like I could sense the tears in your eye as Bobby was sliding and spinning in front of you, saying, "Oh, not now, Bobby."
Yeah, I was trying to avoid him.
Yeah, well, that too. but no, it was a great run. But yeah, as you said, you had battles there with Steve, and with Jeff, and with Chad, all these guys. I think even for a while there. The other ones, but you guys had quite a big field that you were just sort of running with. How do you keep your composure through all of that and keep pushing?
Well, it's kind of interesting. I probably shouldn't say this, but I forgot to brake a few times, like truly forgot. And I hit Bobby a couple of times, and I hit some other people a few times. And yeah, I don't know what it is with this track, but it really put me off my game. And yeah, composure-wise, I don't think I had any composure during this race. It was just white knuckle driving, and my hands hurt right now. I think after qualifying, my hands hurt. So yeah, after over an hour of driving like this, it's definitely taking its toll on me. But yeah, no, it was really difficult for me.
Yeah, well, I wish I can have that level of composure and still take my class win, even having all these struggles. You were just absolutely fast on that, but your hands are going to hurt some more because you got a lot of apology letters to write. So you got to take a break before you write all those for all the taps you were giving folks. But tonight, no, great victory here for D2D and for yourself. Anybody you want to give a special thanks to?
Yeah, big thanks to D2D, Chris, Bobby, David for all their help in practice, and Eric and Brandon for their help in multi-class practice. Proforma Elite Texas Graphics, PCR Designs, you guys for the great broadcast, Extreme for putting on this great league, my family for their support, and my steering wheel for being tough enough to have me gripping it really tight the whole race.
Well, Brendan, congrats. This is 3 wins in 3 rounds, off to a great start here in the season here in GT4 AM.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. Brendan Horn, driver of the number 45 D2D E-Racing Mercedes AMG GT4. And Larry, talk about timing, and I want to thank John Robertson back behind the scenes for this. Just as Brendan was talking about losing composure, we see a shot of him bounding through the gravel trap on the outside of McPhillamy Park. It was the best timing ever. It was a great shot there. But let's do this before we dig too much further down into that. Let's bring in our overall winner tonight from Orion Racing, driver of the number 16 BMW M4 GT4, Travis Schwenke.
Travis, I tell you, the rivalry that you guys have there in Orion seems to be coming through. It's a lot of respect for racing, but you guys just want to just go faster and faster. You guys are laying down some amazing laps, but still, hour and 15 in, you guys are still a tenth apart. How do you maintain any bit of composure when you got Mike Dam all over the back end for the last half of this race?
I think it's the mountain will make you do that by itself, because you break concentration at all here. It seems like you're gonna go off and hit a wall. I know I did it earlier once at the top of the hill, and man, I had to lift and pedal, so I didn't go off into the gravel out there. But yeah, that was a reminder right there. Don't break concentration. Just keep your head down and hit laps. And I wish I could turn off my relative sometimes, or not the relative, but the lap deltas on my screen. They're on my dash. It's like, you just can't chase lap time here, it seems. You just got to try to go quick and smooth, and if you're smooth, it's quick. So
yeah, because you guys came through the whole pit stop cycle. You had gotten yourself out to maybe about a 4-second lead or so, and all of a sudden Mike's back on your tail, and then Mike rubs the wall coming out of the elbow, and then he's back in your tail again, and it seems like you just can't take your eyes off the relative the whole time. You're like, where is he? I mean, is that really how you have to manage this race, or is that what you end up doing?
Well, for me, those laps when I had the gap to start with, I caught a TCR wrong, and then 2 laps in a row, Mike was killing me at the cutting, and behind him there, I kind of figured it out, and I got in a rhythm, and then I was fine when he was right behind me, but 2 seconds behind me, yeah, I couldn't hit it. I missed the cutting like twice in a row, and that you miss that corner, and man, it's like a second, because that uphill pull all the way from that corner to the top of the hill, you just lose time the entire way.
Yeah. Amazing to watch. But of course, when you talk about losing time, you're talking about, you're not running a 14 lap, but that's 15. But you guys were still like on a different level tonight, and just all 3 of you had such a good run. But for you, that's a couple of wins in a row here to come out at the front of this field. That's a heck of a feat in this group, and at this track, it literally is like climbing the mountain and getting to the top. And for you tonight, that means victory. So who do you want to thank for helping you up the mountain?
Again, thank my teammates, thank Extreme, and thank Ricmotech for their continued support of this series. So it's really good to see, as I said last time, the fights through the field, and great levels of competition here. And yeah, we're pushing each other, and D2D, man, they're coming on strong. Unfortunately, I see what happened to David, but it's good to see them up there mixing it up, and I was hoping they would be there tonight.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll be back again in a couple of weeks to put the fight back to you guys. But for now, you get to go home and you get to celebrate. And another victory for you here. Travis Schwenke, 2 wins in a row.
Thanks.
All right, there you go. Congratulations to Travis Schwenke from Orion Racing, tonight's winner at Mount Panorama. So, Larry, let's take a look as we wrap things up at what we've got coming up next on the schedule. Next up is going to be next Monday night, February 13th, we're going to have the Ricmotech World Challenge. It's round number 3, and our GTP cars and GT3 cars, they are going to be heading to WGI, to Watkins Glen International, for the first 90-minute race of the season. So again, join us next Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And then in 2 weeks, the Sportscar Series returns. And as I think I mentioned during the broadcast, going to be going to one of the new circuits here on the iRacing platform. Going to be going to the Circuit de Never-Magny-Cours. Going to be going to Central France for a 60-minute run to the checkered flag. And of course, hold tight for those of you who love some spec racing. We are going to have the return of the newly named, Club Sport Series. It's going to be our Mazda MX-5s as always, and now the new Toyota GR86 Cup cars as well. May 1st, 8 p.m. And as we get closer, we'll tell you exactly what course we're going to be racing at. And so for Larry McLeod, for John Robertson, and Jonathan Grabowski, I want to say good night to everybody. I'm Greg Ginsburg. We'll see you next Monday night from Watkins Glen. Have a great week, everybody.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.